In the countryside near the Chinese city of Lebanon, there is a hill. It's quiet, green, covered in pomegranate trees, the kind of gentle rise you'd walk past without a second glance. But this hill is not natural. It is artificial, a vast pyramid of packed earth, raised more than 2,000 years ago, and softened by 20 centuries of rain into something that looks like a part of the landscape. Underneath it lies a sealed chamber that no living person has ever seen. We know it's there. We know roughly how big it is. We know who is inside. And in 50 years of modern archaeology, with ground-penetrating radar, with drills, with every tool we could bring, we have refused to open it. This is the tomb of the man who first unified China into a single empire, the first emperor. And to understand why we leave the greatest unopened tomb on earth deliberately sealed, you have to understand three things: the obsession of the man who built it, the staggering scale of what surrounds it, and the river of poison that ancient writers said flows through its heart, a river that, 2,000 years later, modern science went looking for. And found. The man in that hill conquered everything he could see. In a few brutal, brilliant years, he ended centuries of warfare between rival kingdoms and forged them into the first unified Chinese empire. He standardized the writing, the money, even the width of cart axles so the roads would match across his realm. He connected early walls into the ancestor of the Great Wall. He was, by any measure, one of the most consequential rulers in human history. And he was terrified of one thing he could not conquer: death. The first emperor became obsessed with immortality. He sent expeditions across the seas in search of a legendary elixir of eternal life. He consulted alchemists and magicians. And here is one of history's darkest ironies. Many scholars believe the medicines his physicians fed him to make him immortal were laced with mercury, which his era wrongly believed held the secret to eternal life. The very substance he may have swallowed chasing immortality could have been slowly poisoning him to death. But a man that powerful, that afraid of the end, does not simply prepare a grave. He prepares another world. From almost the moment he took the throne, as a teenager, he began building a tomb designed to let him rule for eternity. It would take an estimated 700,000 laborious and decades of work. To grasp the scale, don't picture a grave, picture an entire underground kingdom. Surveys suggest the full mausoleum complex sprawls across dozens of square kilometers, palaces, offices, stables, and pits, a whole bureaucratic capital recreated below the earth for a dead man to govern. The emperor wasn't packing for a funeral. He was building a second empire to rule once this one ended. And he ran out of time before he could finish it. He died suddenly while traveling, far from his capital, and his ministers hid the death, reportedly packing his body in salted fish to mask the smell until they could secure the throne. And what his workers built around him would not be discovered, by accident, for more than 2,000 years. In 1974, farmers digging a well near that hill struck something hard. It was a head. A life-sized human head made of fired clay. What they had stumbled into became one of the most famous discoveries in the history of archaeology, the Terracotta Army. Picture it. Thousands of life-sized warriors, formed from clay, standing in battle formation in vast underground pits. Infantry, archers, cavalry, officers, horses and wooden chariots. And here is the detail that stops people cold: no two faces are alike. Each soldier has individual features, a unique expression, as if modeled on a real person. Archaeologists estimate there are around 8,000 of them in total, and the craftsmanship is so fine that researchers can pick out individual artists' hands, even fingerprints pressed into the wet clay 2,000 years ago. It was an industrial operation of staggering ambition, a standing army, frozen mid-formation, that has held its watch in the dark for longer than most civilizations have existed. They were originally painted in brilliant colors and armed with real bronze weapons, some still sharp after 2,000 years. An entire army, sculpted and buried to guard their emperor in the afterlife. It is one of the wonders of the ancient world. And here's what makes it even more staggering. Those farmers in 1974 found it entirely by accident, digging for water in a drought. For 2,000 years, generation after generation had farmed that exact soil, walked directly over those buried legions every single day, with no idea an entire army stood frozen in formation a few meters beneath their feet. The greatest archaeological find of the century was hiding under a field, waiting for a dry summer and an unlucky well. And the work is still not finished. Decades later, archaeologists are still carefully uncovering more of the pits, and large areas remain untouched. We have not even fully mapped the guards. The palace they protect, we have not entered at all. But now I need you to absorb the part that almost everyone misses, the part that reframes everything. The Terracotta Army, all those thousands of warriors that draw millions of visitors a year, is not the tomb. They are not even inside it. These pits are essentially the outer guard, stationed nearly a mile away from the actual burial mound. They are the sentries at the gate. The emperor himself, and the true tomb, lie somewhere else entirely, deep beneath that quiet green hill, behind walls we have never breached. If the guards alone are this magnificent, this vast, what does that tell you about the palace they were built to protect? About a century after the emperor died, a great historian wrote down a description of what was supposedly sealed inside the tomb. For 2,000 years, it read like a fantasy, the kind of legend that grows around a dead king. He wrote that the ceiling of the burial chamber was inlaid with pearls and jewels to mimic the stars and the heavens. That the floor was shaped into a map of the emperor's entire realm. And that running through that map, flowing like real water, were rivers and seas made of liquid mercury, kept in motion so the emperor could rule over a miniature, gleaming model of his empire forever. He even wrote that the tomb was rigged with automatic crossbows, set to fire on anyone who tried to break in. For most of history, this was treated as poetic myth. Beautiful, but surely exaggerated. And then, in the modern era, scientists did something simple and devastating. They didn't dig. They took soil samples from across the burial mound and measured the chemistry. And what they found was a concentration of mercury in the earth dramatically higher than anywhere in the surrounding area, and the highest readings clustered in a pattern, as if leaking up from large quantities of mercury sealed below, arranged in the shape the ancient text described. Let that sink in. A 2,000-year-old account of rivers of liquid mercury, dismissed for centuries as legend, and modern instruments found the mercury right where the story said it would be. The historian wasn't writing a fairy tale. He was, it seems, writing a report. And the pattern is the part that raises the hair on your neck. The highest mercury readings are not scattered randomly, they cluster toward the center and trace a distribution that, to some researchers, echoes the layout of China's great rivers and the shape of the empire itself. If that holds, the historian's strangest claim, a flowing mercury map of an entire realm, may be the literal truth, sealed and gleaming in the dark. Which means the rest of his description may be real too, and that is exactly the problem. So we have the greatest unopened tomb in human history. We know where it is. We have the engineering to reach it. The temptation must be almost unbearable. Why, then, has it stayed sealed? The answer is a combination of poison, preservation, and humility. First, the poison. If the tomb really does contain rivers and pools of liquid mercury, and the soil tests strongly suggest it does, then the chamber is a death trap. Mercury vapor is invisible and lethal. To open it carelessly would risk the lives of everyone involved and release a toxic cloud. But the deeper reason, the one that should give every treasure hunter pause, is preservation, and for that, the Terracotta Army itself is the warning. Remember those warriors painted in brilliant color? When they were first excavated, many still had their original paint. And within minutes of contact with the dry modern air, that paint began to curl, flake, and vanish, colors that had survived 2,000 years in the dark were destroyed almost instantly by the simple act of being seen. We dug up the guards, and we watched their faces fade in real time. Now imagine doing that to the central tomb, to whatever murals, silks, manuscripts, and irreplaceable wonders might be sealed inside. We have, in effect, admitted a humbling truth: our technology is good enough to find the tomb, but not good enough to open it without destroying it. And there is a quieter danger still: we don't fully know what's down there, which means we don't know how to protect it before we expose it. Manuscripts on bamboo or silk, organic materials, delicate lacquer, things that could turn to dust the instant the chamber is breached. You get exactly one chance to open a sealed 2,000-year-old room correctly, and if you get it wrong, the knowledge isn't damaged. It's gone. So the official position is patience. Leave it sealed. Wait for a future generation with tools we don't yet have. The tomb has waited 2,000 years. It can wait a little longer. There is something almost unbearable, and something almost beautiful, about a sealed door you are allowed to find but not to open. We live in an age that believes everything should be revealed, scanned, streamed, known. The idea that the single greatest archaeological prize on the planet is just sitting there, located, mapped, waiting, and that the wisest thing we can do is nothing, runs against every instinct we have. But that restraint may be the most mature decision modern archaeology has ever made. Because the lesson of the fading warriors is simple and brutal: some things can only be discovered once. Open that tomb today, and whatever is inside meets our air, our light, our clumsy hands, and a part of it is lost forever the moment we look at it. Leave it sealed, and it stays whole, a perfect time capsule of the ancient world, intact for a future that might actually be ready to receive it. So picture that quiet hill one more time. The pomegranate trees. The soft green slope. And somewhere beneath it, in the dark, a map of a vanished empire still gleams under a ceiling of stars. Rivers of silver Mercury still trace the shape of a country that no longer exists, and a man who was terrified of death lies waiting, exactly as he planned, to be found by no one. The first emperor wanted to rule forever. In a strange way, by being the one tomb we dare not open, he still does. So I'll leave you with the question that haunts me: if you held the key to the greatest discovery on Earth, but opening the door might destroy what's inside, would you have the discipline to leave it locked? Tell me in the comments. I read every one.